Hi, I'm doing my presentation on experts on social psychology and criminal psychology. Social psychology is understanding individual behavior in a social context, which just means that social psychologists want to understand how our behavior is when we are around others and how we interact with others, and how we conform to what we think people want or need from us. Social psychology is a great way of understanding our behaviors, and understanding that if I'm hanging out with one friend, I may feel like I need to impress that person, where if I'm hanging out with another friend, I may feel like I don't need to impress them at all. I can just be myself. And a social psychologist wants to understand why people feel the need to conform and not to conform. Criminal psychology is the study of criminals and their behavior. The field of criminal psychology is still fairly new and revolutionizing. Um, Everybody wants to understand why criminals commit crimes, why a serial killer would kill somebody. And criminal psychologists are on the front lines of trying to understand why a criminal feels the need to commit crimes, and evaluating the criminal to understand that, is there hope? Would a criminal be able to go back into the world and, be amongst the rest of us in society, or are they just a lost cause? So two experts that I found, W. Keith Campbell is an expert in social psychology, and works for the University of Georgia. Dr. Henry Lee is a professor of forensic science at the University of New Haven and in the university's Henry C. Lee College of Criminal Justice and Forensic Scientists, which is actually named in his honor. Dr. Campbell has made his life missions to understand social psychology and the role of narcissism. Dr. Campbell wants to understand, what is narcissism? Why are people narcissistic? What causes a person to feel the need to have that type of behavior in which they feel, everything's about them, or, about their appearance. One of the references that I found to support what Dr. Campbell says is, conceptualization of not diagnostic definitions of narcissistic personality have primarily focused on the more strikingly provocative, self-enhancing, entitled interpersonal behaviors and attitudes that tend to capture the attention of clinicians rather than on the patient's underlying internal struggles. Which just means that people don't always understand what's causing a person to be narcissistic. Maybe there's an underlying cause for why somebody is that way, rather than, they're just self-absorbed and only think about themselves. Dr. Henry Lee, like I said, he's an expert in the field of criminal psychology. He has made his life's mission to understand the psychology of a criminal and how they operate. His whole goal is to understand what drives a criminal to, commit those kind of behaviors, and what kind of risks brought that criminal to commit the crimes in the first place. Dr. Lee has been a successful help on many famous cases around the world, including the O.J. Simpson trial and JonBenet Ramsey. One of the references that I found to support what Dr. Lee is working on is, while we largely question the conclusion that criminals in risk-seeking, we do not foreclose such a risk or result. Rather, we recognize that any conclusion regarding criminal risk attitudes would have far-reaching theoretical implications, thus must be observed through precise empirical studies that account for other hypotheses. If we compare and contrast both, they're both, wanting to advance the field of their, psychology. Dr. Campbell for social and Dr. Lee for criminal. Dr. Campbell, is wanting to strive for advancement in education and understand interaction and personal behaviors. Dr. Lee is looking for risk behaviors and understanding the footpaths of the criminal conduct. Both of the psychologists are experts in their field and always striving to achieve advancement and understanding to better educate the public. There's my references.